But okay, thank you so much.
If you have any questions, please ask them now. This was our last speaker within our two-day conference. So if you have questions, I mean, yesterday we had Slido. If you send us a question, the speakers who are still here will answer you. So, but now, today, we're going to do it a different way, because the vice president of the iCARI is ready, and he's a good speaker, and he likes data. So if there is any question, I would ask one. I would ask the WWF. When you were talking about how you dig those canals and how you have to divert this water, how is it? I mean, when some volunteers come who want to help because they like nature, and they just start digging, or you do it with some technical devices, or how does it actually work, this digging of canals? Well, I have to say that this was the question we were asked at the Ministry of Environment, because if we say nature-oriented solutions, some experts even think that that those are manual solutions, but it's not true. We also do this modeling, this research, search for the best solution, and then all the permitting processes, and then most of the time we take baggers, we take all this machinery, and we use the machinery in also these solutions. So, but let's say we are on Žitni Ostrov, it is a protected natural area, so you really put their machinery. Of course, as we destroyed the rivers by machinery, we also have to renew them by the machinery as well. However, we still have to keep the legislation requirements. It's the same thing like when you do the highway or road, so it must be done by the machinery which is not leaking with some oil or something. So, okay, so it's quite difficult, because that was the question I had in my mind. Any other questions? Janko, what? Okay. We also have the... do we have a Portuguese language? Yes, in Brazilian Portuguese, because that's a different Portuguese as the classic one. Okay. So, there is a question, Janko. I see the first question for me. So, to explain what I meant in my presentation, what I said, if a government is purchasing something and they decide, we say that it's a direct task, there are many questions here. That's one point. And when I see it from the energy point of view, which is my area, it seems to me that if I look at it in a very efficient way, and it doesn't matter what technology it is, in my environment, if somebody is going to operate something, and it's a very specialized operation, very specific operation, they need people for maintenance. If they hire people who are, let's say, in somewhere behind the Atlantic Ocean, it will not be very cost efficient. So if it's some reactor which can only be ordered from Westinghouse, it will also be expensive. It would be correct to do the selection between the providers, but our government made it differently, and I consider it the worst solution. So, Mr. Marco is probably not here, and Jurica also. Oh, okay, sorry, where did you hide? Okay, so the architect, Mr. Marco. So, the question for you... Back, please go back. I remember the question because I read it, so please. I first didn't understand it quite well. How was it important that the construction law was divided? And then I understood the essence. So if I say there was a parallel, So, yes, our plan of climate resilience, okay, I cannot say it again. So, whether it was divided in one law or it's in two laws, I mean, it doesn't matter. That's not the crucial. Important is that there is a parallel, and I would even say that it's even more important because even when the architects or the designers who are doing these plans or the representatives of municipalities who order their services, those are the people who should be in the very beginning of the project and who need to have a high level of education and knowledge, because at the end of the project we can have a situation that there is an architect who wants to do something well, but then they have this issue that it's in contradiction to the territorial plan. So for me, the educational level is even more important than the territorial planning. Then there was a question for Mr. Zemberi. Can you put it back? There was a nice question. Can you put it back? Okay, so Mr. Djurica, the question, I cannot really see that. Okay, there was a question whether it was only about retaining rainwater or any water, like from snow or rain, or it doesn't matter, it's always the rainfall, so something that changes into liquid, and that's what we want to retain. So I believe that was just an ironic question. So I'm still searching for the question of the question. Yeah, where's the question for Mr. Zemberi? Can you please move it back? Okay, each conference starts with my favorite sentence that I first criticized the sound master and then the director, and I'm happy that also in this case I could do it again. But you are great, the event was beautiful. Janko, before we finish the questions, how would you summarize these 2 beautiful days and beautiful 4 years? And we have provided a great performance. We have great speakers, we connect, we network, and we are just genius. Okay, I will take some figures. 156 people who were here yesterday, 120 people who were online, which was great. And as it's quite frequent, sometimes people apply, they register, pay for the fee, and then on the next day we only have half of people, in the afternoon even less, so I cannot understand it. So maybe we should increase this fee like 5 times, because the people buy something for 2 days and they only are here for the first day. But I'm very thankful that we had this event. We also had representatives of municipalities here. They were very thankful, and our agreement with the Association of Slovak Cities and Municipalities is that the association will get the admissions for their members, so they will get the news, which means they will be able to see each and every presentation online, so all the members, all the mayors and members of the association. So that's why we cooperate with Association of the Cities and Municipalities, because we want to educate municipalities in an efficient and sensible way. Even last year we spoke about it, that I lack here these mayors and people who would get a huge amount of data, experience, knowledge here, and who could transform all this information into practice, and they would meet here all these experts who could give them advice on their jobs. Okay, so finally the question for Mr. Zemberi. Are there the costs on reconstruction of the heating source based on fossil fuels eligible for your grants or for your subsidies? Well, we cannot This is not possible because these technologies cannot be harmful. However, if you use landfill gas, green gas, or the clean gas, this is possible. You can fund the heat pump, you can fund the biomass, you can fund central heat supply, but not the fossil fuel. Sorry, this is harmful. Okay, so you can just click on their website and you can check the information there or get in touch with you. What about the next question? Okay, we have people from WWF because I love pandas. What is more important? Model of flow of the underground water or the risk analysis of the area if we try to design the flow of the river, the diverting the flow of the river close to the strategic enterprise. We didn't do this close to Slovnaft. It was this was the task of the previous project, and the team which was working on the river was supposed to do their job, which they didn't, but this Dunajské rameno just wasn't performed correctly, so we didn't have a water source. But what is important, if you ask me, I think the flow of the underground water close to the strategic enterprise is a part of the risk and strategic analysis. It should have been done, but it wasn't, and we did it additionally, and we identified the risk. However, we are not allowed to use European funding for investments into compensation measures by the private companies. So you cannot support private companies through European money, if you understand what I mean. It's an extremely complicated situation, so I hope you understood. Yes, you said it very nicely before, that you did their job because they somehow forgot to do the research and complete it, so it seems they didn't have time, maybe. Okay, another question, the second question. I'm sorry, but it's like when you complain that you bought a washing machine which broke and then all the washing machines are bad. So it's highly probable that some factors were enhanced underestimated, which are underestimated almost everywhere. So I don't know how else to answer the question. It's not even the question, it's probably just a note. The third question here. Are there any works or any projects of concrete dams or... Well, I don't know, but I would have to search for some information for that. Because Mr. Marco, okay, we answered that one. It's not only about CO2, but also about the concentrations of radon, where only the recommendations are existent and there are no other solutions. What to do with that for the future? It's not only about radon, it's about volatile compounds and PMs. We are addressing this and we will address it. What to do in the future? Well, the question, we cannot do much for the future now with radon, but we can work with PMs, with these particles, and we want to focus on the influence of the exterior on the interior, and not just not just the problem that we have in Slovakia and in Czech Republic, but generally we don't have sufficient green infrastructure. So we need the systems that would be able to catch not only COs but also PMs, because sometimes it's possible. Some materials materials are able to cool and some are able to catch those particles. So somehow we have to find the correct mix, and when it comes to future, if the Ministry of Environment wouldn't ignoring us, we could have had some beautiful project here for the municipalities and cities where we could define the standards for blue and green infrastructure by the generally binding provisions, and we wouldn't have to wait for the government to approve it. But this was not simply the priority for the Ministry of Environment. Nobody knows where is their priority. This is the question for Braňo. When creating substrate, for the biosolar vegetation roof, were you inspired by the experience from abroad, or you developed your own substrate? Okay, and I would add this question: why we are talking always about light roofs, and we all have dark roofs, and substrate is also dark, it's brown and black. We are not the producers of substrate. We take the substrate from Slovak and Czech producers. So we work with what we have. And regarding these colors of roofs, the priority of green roof is to be green, to have vegetation. I don't like this lava substrates because then it's complicated. And when we did one roof in Považská Bystrica, we did the dark substrate, but it must be mixed with some other materials because it's very light and it can be blown away by the wind. So we used the white materials, and after a year we discovered that the vegetation is doing much better than with classic substrate, and thanks to the color, because this environment is not so dark, and these roofs and the vegetation on the roof grows faster because it was light. It was cooled. And it doesn't seem to have any issue right now. But the point was to give some weight to this light substrate, which was always blown away. So, okay. So another question, because some of the questions I really find them absurd. Who is eligible for funding of the presented product, and what are the obligations and restrictions of the subject? So the eligible are cities, towns, municipalities, central bodies of the state administration. One interesting point is that unlike the others, unlike the other agencies that fund so-called final beneficiaries, we can fund also the companies that execute, these EXO companies that provide the service. So we can conclude the contract with the bank, or the company that provides the project can be provided or can conclude a contract with a bank. And the restrictions and obligations, well, there are two obligations. We only fund these eligible costs that was already mentioned, and we have to achieve the saving, to save this 30 to 60% of energy to be able to not have to pay the principal. So we also have here people from VUB Bank. Okay, you say that the saving with photovoltaics is 36 euro per month and the cost is 8,560, which is 20 years without any price or value of the money and subsequent changes at the end of the life cycle, so I mean the inventory. So that is the question. First of all, I would like to praise this sense of preciseness of this question. The first disclaimer is that those pictures were just for the illustration and purposes, but the point is that the photovoltaic or the impact of the measures is always assessed as complex together with other measures. And this photovoltaic is considered when you change the source of heat. And the part of the benefit from the photovoltaics is counted in the heat pump, and the rest is especially for like ordinary lighting and use. And the other cost, or the entire contribution, is assessed in comparison to the cost reduced by the subsidy, which is currently active, and the call is still open. So the cost is reduced by the subsidy. So the cost is actually lower. I kind of understand it, but I think it's taken out of context because we are speaking about the benefits and return. So I hope we are satisfied with the question, with the answer. And there is now a very nice question, but maybe, I mean, it's the third question. How many Europeans do understand that doing things related with climate change will mean to increase the life cost? And this is what your presentation was yesterday when you spoke about BRICS, about China and Brazil and all these countries. So are we even in Europe aware that this will increase our living cost and we will be poorer? Well, I think I inspired somebody, and well, I have seen a lot of surveys, and 3 weeks ago I saw another one. It was about Slovakia and the climate, and when I was reading it, there was a question: how many Slovaks support Green Deal? And I think the question should be how many Slovaks even know what is Green Deal and what is written in Green Deal, because I don't believe that many do. So this is a very ridiculous question if they support it, because they don't know what is actually Green Deal. And I believe that 90% of people do not even understand what it means if the Green Deal is put into practice. So, I mean, to say whether I'm in favor of doing things which are good, but then you have to be aware of what it means. I don't say that it's wrong, but I just say that people just don't understand it. So today we have all like very picky questions. Well, I would say that maybe we will have the poorer lifestyle. We will visit thrift stores and we will go to a textile house. Okay, there is also a question about my socks. Don't worry, I have socks, but I have my socks below my ankles. Okay. So, how is it possible to define the contributions of biosolar? How can they be measured? Is there a guarantee of the increase of the energy produced? Well, the contributions of biosolar are, from my point of view, as a person who can talk about energy in all aspects, I think it can work at some places if it's well set, and we spoke about that. And somewhere it will not work even if you did anything. So if you follow all the technological preconditions and you have the regional possibility to use it, it can work. It can be a contribution. However, In our project in Brno, we will compare it very precisely, and we want to see if it's going to be 1%, 10%, or how much. If it works, we will confirm it with data, and if not, we will again confirm it with data. Yeah, I was also considering this, whether I wouldn't go to live to Cyprus, because it's like 300 days of sun, and I can use solar panels there. Or somewhere in Lest. There is like 300 days of rain and wind, so I don't think that solar panels would be useful there. I mean, it's quite dry there, there is no rainfall, there is good temperature. The first time Asian monsoon crossed the Himalayan mountains, and nobody spoke about that. Since the times that we have been as people measuring people, what it means. If it's repeated, then the the plateau of Tibet will not be dry, and then the virgin forests in Asia will not be moist, will have no moisture, and will not be the virgin forests. So this is the similar principle, like when our friends for the Moravia are always flooded, and we have a dryness. So we have a drought here, and much more drought than somewhere else. And even with China, I wouldn't be sure. So let's be careful with the anomalies, because that's also what dinosaurs saw. Why the representatives of municipalities didn't stay for another day, for the second day? That's a good question for them. I think they had some duties, but we are happy that they were here, that Mr. Božic and Mr. Droba came yesterday, and they are doing their projects, and they enjoy, they join the activities, and they take iCARI very seriously. I mean, it's the question for them, but I do believe that at this place we should have at least 50 mayors. I mean, I have to say that not only those were here because they were visible, but there were not only like mayors, but also people like employees from municipalities, from municipal offices, who are like anonymous, who we don't know. Okay. Can the funding from SIH be used with funding for the same purpose from the funds, for example, to complete the funding? Well, that's how we tried to design the project, so that this is not important, but if you need to also fund some inventory in the building, you can do that because the bank can increase your credit. However, it's not possible from the European funds. If you require the funds for the same building, for the same purpose, or from us, or from the Agency of Environment, it's not possible. You can only require it from the bank, and you cannot ask for money for the same project more than once from the funds. So I hope that you got your answers, and now we have the conclusion. Maybe Mr. President and Vice President of iCARI could come here and could give us some conclusion and some few words at the end. I would like to thank for your attention, for the great questions and great speakers this year. Just like the last year, the speakers were great, and I have learned so much. I'm not a professional here, but whether the green roofs, whether the architects, whether the funding, I have learned a lot. And again, I repeat, I'm just a person, I'm a TV host from the media world. So if you need some new information about this, this is the place to be, or watch us at YouTube. Thank you very much. from the statistics point of view, 270 people, that's like a world record for us. I mean, to the fact that we have so many empty chairs here, it's other thing. Maybe we'll need to have a raffle for the second day too, because in the first day it was very popular, and I believe it was also very interesting. So we have to keep here people by very interesting content and maybe by some other activities. So Branyo will think about it for the next year. And I have to say that we visit various conferences. It's not easy to do a good content for a conference and to provide a stream of information, because many times what happens at the conferences is that nobody even asks me what I'm going to talk about, because that's a huge signal for me that nobody cares about that. And that's not the conference we want to do. They want to do the conferences that make sense, that can be connected with all these things, so that you don't have to read an amendment to a law for 1 hour or half an hour. So it's not easy. We face challenges, but we love challenges. We bring always new and interesting speakers here. We don't want to repeat the speakers or the topics. But when we bring those speakers, we do that because they are unique, they are special. And in the spring, we launched the charter of good conferences to support critical thinking. We addressed various similar conferences. We already have one. People from Drone Text, who do the great event about drones. It's always an open call, and we will address very interesting conferences, because we need them. We need people to be entertained by them and to be educated. And not only to make it about wine, because then people won't even remember it. So, Branyo, maybe you? I just would like to thank everybody who arrived, whether the speakers or the participants of the conference, our partners, that they supported us. This year, it was the 4th year. It was the most difficult year, whether it comes to funding or also the inviting the people, because everybody kept it for the last possible moment. It's some post-COVID trend that people are not doing things in advice, but we will definitely send you a questionnaire because we need to have the feedback from you. We want to do it for you and for us, because we need to improve and we want to make progress. So thank you very much, and I do believe that we see you next year on the 5th year. So thank you for coming. Thank you very much. Of course, we are not forgetting the partners, but again, I want to thank our speakers, Mr. Architect Michał Marko, Matthew Durica, who is not here anywhere because he has some job to do, Tomáš Karas from the Czech Republic. Thank you very much. I enjoyed it very much. It was very interesting and so, Martina Pavlikova, thank you very much, from the World Fund of Nature. Mr. Zemberi, thank you very much for useful information about the Slovak investment holding. Andrea Aradi from VUB, thank you very much. That's what I want to know one day, what you know. And Mr. Moreira, thank you very much. And we would like to thank our partner Textile House, and those are our partners that we will now see on the screen. Please. Okay, thank you. So these are our partners, Strabag, Bratislava Ridge, Hauerland, Auto, Top Auto. You could win a car in the raffle. The lady who won has not been driving a car for 5 years. So thank you very much to all of you. Thank you for participation, and see you next time. Bye-bye.